There are two things to know about karma. One, it always comes with a compelling, magnetic, inexplicable call. That's how we know it's karma because it's calling us and it's magnetic. It's that person we're drawn to or that relationship that we just can't seem to get out of. And with that kind of a magnetic pull, there's always some kind of karma. The second thing to know is that when karma calls, there's only one way out. And when we know this in advance, when we know the way out of karma, it's so much easier to deal with that compelling pull that just won't let go of us. And today, we're going to learn how to send karma to voicemail when it calls, because destiny does not have us locked into experiencing that pain. We do have a choice. This podcast is all about helping you with your spiritual growth so you can overcome obstacles and manifest your destiny to crystallize all things good, basically, to have success on life's journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. So let's get started. Hi there and welcome. My name is Remy, like Do Re Mi. I'm a best-selling author and creator of the Get Unstuck Revolution. I help extraordinary women just like you dissolve the obstacles in your path so you can bring success to you. Now let's get started with today's video. Okay, let me jump off the screen here and switch to my laptop. Today, we are talking about karma. It's a circle of chaos and drama that wants to entrap us into its maddening little game. And the reason I'm calling it a circle is because I like to imagine two circles on the floor in front of me. One is filled with chaos and negativity, the other is filled with perfect order and bliss. Which circle would we rather stand in? We always have a choice. But the circle filled with chaos often tries to pull us in. It wants our attention. The circle that's filled with chaos almost always represents some kind of karma. Now, there are some people who feel like karma is very necessary, that it's a rebalancing, and I don't disagree, but there's an end result for nearly every karmic circle that tries to pull us into the quicksand. And when we know what to look for, we can shorten our lesson, sometimes by a lifetime, no kidding, so that we don't drown in the quicksand, but we can bypass the trauma and move into the circle filled with positivity and successful outcomes instead. If you'd like to see success in full abundance along life's journey, and if you're wanting to tap into a greater knowingness and align with the higher consciousness of your infinite self, instead of the lower ego thinking and negative thoughts that push success away, then this is for you. It's time to be unabashedly, unapologetically, happily untethered to ego thinking. It's time to align with the higher energies of our soul's path instead. This episode is for you. If you wonder, how can we spot karma before it drags us into its clutches? Is there a way to get through karma quickly and unscathed? And is there a way to avoid chaos in this life, or is it unavoidable? Well, all right, let's get started. Karma is one of our greatest teachers, and there's no doubt about that. But what happens is that we sometimes end up in these karmic situations and we don't understand them. We don't know what to do with them. And we're just in this cycle of chaos that we can't seem to escape. You may even look back over your life, especially if you're going through an ascension, and realize that nearly every relationship you've had in this lifetime was a karmic relationship. Maybe you aren't codependent after all. Maybe you don't make bad choices in relationships. Maybe there is no Peter Pan syndrome or any addiction to fairy tale endings. Maybe you've been assigned any number of psychological labels and you look back over your life and realize that these labels, they don't fit. Maybe you are simply wrapping up karmic cycles once and for all so they don't continue to chase you down lifetime after lifetime. Maybe you're here to wrap up this karma. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about past lives. And I'm not asking you to believe in past lives, not at all. If you don't believe in such a thing, or you're at the very least skeptical, then today's episode, use it as a metaphor and see whether you get anything from it that will apply to your own life if you're finding that there's unwanted chaos or drama around you. I was watching a show on TV the other day about these two business partners and what they needed to do to save their business. And all of a sudden, this screaming match ensued. They were both at each other's throats. And in the middle of the meltdown, all I could think of was, boy, there's some karma right there. And you've probably seen something similar. Okay, so there are two things to know about karma. Well, there are many things to know, but today we're just going to talk about two: how to know it's karma when we get into it, and how to get out of it with as little pain as possible while still capturing the lessons that we're supposed to learn. So, the first thing to know about karma is that it always comes with a compelling, magnetic, inexplicable pull. That's how we know it's karma, because it's calling us and it's magnetic. It's that person we're drawn to, or that relationship that we just can't seem to get out of once we're in it. Now, with that kind of a magnetic pull that we can't explain, and it involves chaos and negativity that makes us want to come unhinged, there's always, always some kind of karma. Let me say this one more time. When we have a magnetic pull that we can't explain, and it involves chaos and drama, that's a sign of karma. Now, we may have soul recognition with the person we meet. They may seem very familiar and we don't know why, and there may be some magnetism there. This may not be karma, but simply someone in our soul family that's here to support us. We'll know that it's simply soul recognition because it doesn't trigger us or make us crazy. It's a different kind of a magnetic pull. It's the chaos, the drama that alerts us to a karmic relationship. We'll feel the invalidation. We'll feel the emotional and maybe spiritual abuse. And we may even feel very, very stuck. And that's how we know it's karma, by that magnetic pull that we can't escape and by the chaos it brings to our life. All right. The second thing to know is that there is a way out. And when we know this in advance, when we know the way out of karma, it's so much easier to deal with that compelling pull that just won't let go of us. But fair warning, it's going to take some strength. I'm suggesting that the end result, or the end lesson that we're supposed to learn from karma each and every time, is to simply step outside of that cycle of chaos. Don't engage with the negativity. Don't play on that playing field. Don't go there. Choose a higher perspective. Recognize that it's karma and walk away. Now, there are exceptions to every rule, but more often than not, we're drawn into the situation so that we can get out of it. So why not get out of it sooner rather than going down a painful rabbit hole? We aren't necessarily destined to suffer abuse. It doesn't mean that the only way through it is to walk through it. That's another misnomer. I'm talking about one simple decision. When we see the chaos of karma, our invitation is to simply not go there, to choose a higher, more spiritual perspective. We're being asked to step outside of it. And that is our lesson at a very basic level. Okay, I'm going to let that soak in with you here just for a minute. When we bump into karma, we're being asked to step outside of it, and that is our lesson. Our lesson is to wish them well, send them unconditional love, and move on. Our lesson underneath is to choose unconditional love. So why not bless them and send them on their way? That is our very basic bottom line choice when we're dealing with karma. Now, I'd like you to take a minute and reflect back on any relationship you've had that you suspect was karmic. Maybe it was someone in your family. Maybe it was a spouse. Maybe it was a child who you were once convinced was placed in your life just to ruin your life. I don't know. Or think about patterns of relationships where you recognize there's a pattern there because you keep going through the same thing over and over. Or you might even think of someone you know and you said to yourself, boy, they have a lot of karma between them. You've seen examples in your life, right? And as you reflect back, can you see how the only option was to step away before becoming entangled? The only true option was to bless them with unconditional love and move in another direction. Does it make sense that that was the solution? Yes, maybe there were some beneficial things that we could learn. And maybe, yes, there were some things the other person needed to learn as well. I'm just asking you to reflect back and try on this concept of walking away before getting into the painful chaos, and whether that was the biggest lesson on unconditional love. All right. Now, since karma involves past lives, let's look at a story. This is a teaching moment. And like I've said, I'm not asking you to believe in past lives. If you don't, then just use this as a metaphor. Take from it what you will. Just listen with all encompassing ears, take away what you can, and see how it may apply to your own life. Storytelling is a great way to present metaphors in such a way that we can make sense out of it for our own situations. So here we go. I have been working one on one with a client who has wanted to level up her income, but it seems stuck. Now, what we're going to talk about next could apply to relationships, business partnerships, friendships, and other areas of life. So listen with a broad ear. But for her, she has wanted to level up to a new income, but just hasn't been able to get there. Now, as much as we'd like to isolate a challenge to something of the physical world, like a financial challenge, our challenge almost always involves a person and not a physical world thing. Let me just say that again. Our challenges in life and in business almost always involve a person, not a physical world thing. This is because karma is at play for us to learn our lessons and grow. So, my first question to her was this: who is causing you grief? Well, she couldn't pinpoint anyone, so we did a little bit of a past life regression. And here's what she said. I'm taking this from the transcript. She found herself on a Viking ship. And here's what she told me. She said, I had a relationship with a king or some kind of monarch or ruler, and this was a royal family, so some kind of a kingdom. I was the keeper of records for this king, like promissory notes, agreements, deeds, legal contracts, bills of sale, and that sort of thing. And I knew how the king was setting up these Vikings and their country, which was some part of Scandinavia or somewhere in that part of the world. And this king was setting them up for lots of wealth through their trades. But she said, I was betrayed. I was moved over to this Viking ship. It was either a promotion or some kind of audit. And somehow there were duties added to my role of watching over the treasures that were brought onto the ship. I was told that trades were being made, and I was supposed to be the bean counter and watch what treasures were going out to be traded and also what treasures were coming in. And then one day, she said, I discovered that these treasures were being acquired through trickery and thievery. I overheard a conversation and I thought that maybe I didn't hear it right. So I just kept to myself, but also kept one ear to the ground. And sure enough, there were several of these secret conversations going on. And when I realized that I was betrayed and that I was now part of the trickery and the thievery, I blew the whistle. But she said nobody would believe me. So I investigated further and I found myself clutching a book of all this paperwork with the deeds and promissory notes and legal contracts that were proof that the king was granting all this wealth to these people. But still, even with the proof, no one would listen to me when I tried to tell them the trickery and the thievery wasn't necessary because the king was granting everything they could possibly want. I kept trying to persuade them to listen, but ended up in a steel cage and taken to the depths of the ship where I died of old age, clutching these documents and still trying to fix the situation. Amazing story, right? So, this client said that there seems to be an obsessive, compelling need that she still feels to this day in present time to fix things with her current issues all around her finances. And remember, the word compelling usually speaks to karma. And as she reflected a little bit more, she came to realize who was causing her so much grief in this lifetime. And it was a relationship that was long over, but somehow she was still trapped in this old story. She had literally developed a belief that she couldn't create prosperity and abundance because she would lose her voice. Nobody would believe anything she said, and it would all be taken away from her anyway. Deep down, she believed that she would die of old age with nothing. And this was a deep and hidden obsession to protect herself. And at the end of the day, this is why she hadn't allowed abundance into her life. This deep and hidden obsession to protect herself is why she wasn't allowing abundance into her life in present time. Okay, well, I hope you're reflecting on your own life and your own challenges as we talk about this story because it's truly amazing. And like I said, it's a teaching moment. So, what can we learn from this story? Well, one is this idea that it can't be fixed. We've talked about this recently that our challenge can't be fixed because it's already manifested into the now reality. It's already manifested. And if we focus on trying to fix it, it becomes our prison, taunting us and making us crazy. Now, you may disagree, and that's okay. You may be thinking, well, of course, I could fix my challenge if I had the right money or the right collaboration or a little support from my partner. Of course, I could fix it. But hear me out. When we try and fix a challenge, we can sometimes lock it in place depending on our emotions and our vibration about it. If our vibration is frustration or anger or even doubts about what to do, as we try to fix it, it just locks it up tighter. Now, looking back to our story, remember that my client was clutching this book of promissory notes and deeds and all this paperwork where the kingdom was granting this country all the treasures they could possibly want. And she literally died of old age in that steel cage, still wanting to fix it, still pleading with her captors. And I think this is such a great metaphor that we can come away with. I don't know about you, but I don't want to die in a steel cage, not physically and certainly not metaphorically. So, one thing that we can learn for ourselves and our own lives from this story is that it can't be fixed because if we try, we risk locking it in place. All right. The second thing, we can't fix it, but we can create a new reality. Imagine if she had spent her time in a steel cage visualizing a new reality. One day she might dream of living in Barcelona, enjoying the street food on the busy streets. Another day she might dream of living in Australia, someplace in the outback, taking in all the adventure and the nature. Another day she might dream of being back, working her magic for another kingdom and helping them to flourish and prosper. Only this time she'd know to keep her friends close and her enemies closer and to not engage in chaos and drama from the very first time she sees it. She could have, from her steel cage at the bottom of the Viking ship, imagined herself in a new reality. And with her thoughts and her ability to envision, she might not have died of old age in the steel cage. So, one thing that we can learn for ourselves from this story is that at any moment, we can create a new reality, no matter what's going on around us. Okay. And the third thing we can learn from this story is this. Remember how my client discovered that she had literally developed a belief that she couldn't create abundance because nobody would believe anything she said and it would all be taken away from her anyway? That she would die of old age with nothing? This was a deep and hidden obsession designed to protect herself. Sometimes we need a challenge. Sometimes we need to challenge our beliefs when we uncover them. And this is what cognitive therapy is all about. Hold on for a second. Let me look at my slides. Here we go. Sometimes we need to challenge our beliefs. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So, this is what cognitive therapy is all about, by the way, challenging our thoughts that tumble around in our head. That's all a belief is. We think something over and over, and it becomes ingrained as a part of us. So, by talking through our thought patterns, we can often see what just makes no sense. And once we realize that a thought pattern is useless to us, well, we can groove in a new thought pattern. And so, what we talked about between this client and I, what we talked about is that prosperity cannot be depleted. Our thoughts replenish and regenerate our prosperity. Our thoughts replenish and regenerate our prosperity. This is from the Tao and other ancient texts and philosophers that prosperity cannot be depleted. It's only our vibration, our thoughts that hold us apart from receiving the very thing we're asking for. So we can't fix what's already manifested because when we try to, it might lock the struggle in place. And we can't ask when something will be resolved because that's focusing on the struggle as well. And we can't ask, why isn't this working or what am I doing wrong? Because that locks in the struggle. It's our vibration, our thoughts about our situation that hold us apart from receiving the very thing we're asking for. And that's why we want to focus on where we're going and not focus on the current struggle. We are a vibrational being living in a vibrational universe. We are a vibrational being living in a vibrational universe. We are a vibrational being, so we can't fix it, but we can change the vibration by looking at new possibilities and new outcomes. We can think about our desired reality and where we want to go, not on how impossible it might be to get out of where we are. All right. So, the first thing that we've learned from the story of the Viking ship is to not try and fix our challenge, or we might lock it into place. The second thing is that we get out of the prison or out of our steel cage by creating a new reality in our imagination. And the third thing is that our thoughts are what hold us apart from our desired reality. Our thoughts are what hold us apart from our desired reality. If our thoughts are about the struggle that we're in, that's what holds us apart. But when we come to understand that we are vibrational beings and our task is to participate with vibration in this universe, then as we change our thoughts, we're changing our vibration and we can begin to manifest new realities. So, my question for you is, what would you do if you were in the steel cage at the bottom of that ship? What would you do? And so the last thing that we can take from this story is to consider the idea that we're on a game board while we're here in the Earth School. We signed up before we came here for Monopoly or Battleship or chess or dominoes. No matter what game board or what playing field we've joined, one of our greatest thrills on this planet is to invite in energy. We summon it, we call it in, and then use it to create what we want. We use energy to create our desired reality. We use our positive thoughts to help us create our desired reality. It's one of the reasons we were so excited to come to this planet. We understand vibration in the dimension that we came from, our dimension of origin. But here in this third dimension, here in the Earth School, is where we can play with it firsthand and create some amazing things. Oh, if only we didn't get so hung up in trying to fix things. If only we could understand that it's our thoughts and our vibration we carry with our thoughts that moves things along the game board and shakes things up. We have an amazing ability to invite energy in and then use it. So let's stop doubting and worrying and falling victim to our negative thoughts to get to where we want to go. All that does is slow things down. Let's move into a higher frequency and use our positive thoughts of what we want to create. And then let's get busy creating a new reality. All right. As we empower ourselves towards self expression and who we are at our core without the negative thoughts and emotions that can drain us, we're choosing a higher frequency, higher and better thoughts, because our choice of frequency, our choice of more positive thoughts and emotions changes the course of our journey. So, reflecting back on everything we covered today, how can you apply what you've learned? Do you feel like these concepts can help you push through your current challenges with a new perspective? Hmm. Okay, so I'm curious, what were your three favorite takeaways? Well, my favorite takeaway, so many, but I'll share just one. My favorite takeaway is that the end phenomena with these karmic cycles we find ourselves in is simply to make a very conscious decision to step outside of the chaotic thought patterns that hold it in place. This can be difficult because of the karmic pull, and it might take some strength to overcome that magnetic pull. But if we can recognize karma and the chaos it creates, then we can use our imagination to create a different experience so we can move on. I'd love to hear about your favorite takeaways. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave a comment right here. If you're like most of my audience, you're on the website at unlockyourhiddenpower.com and you can leave a comment there as well. And I hope this helps you as you're using the powers of alchemy to transform challenges and obstacles into positive new successes. This podcast is all about helping you have success on your spiritual growth journey. It's all about getting unstuck by unlocking your hidden power. If you still can't get your head around what's got you stuck in life or in business, you can tell me about it. You can send me a question to questions@unlockyourhiddenpower.com, or you may not know that you can get a free copy of my latest book at unlockyourhiddenpower.com. You can also book a private session with me over there. But if you decide to go for the free book, you'll discover the 22 undeniable laws of alchemy and how to take a wrecking ball to doubt, worries, frustration, and indecision so that your challenges evaporate before your very eyes. You can get your instant download at unlockyourhiddenpower.com. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I'm wishing you a life filled with all the alchemy you need to bring success to you. Feel free to share this video with anyone you know who's feeling stuck, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.